Did that work?
Yes.
All right, wonderful. All right, everyone, just give me one more second then. We just had a little trouble getting me on the call. But we will be starting shortly, and I'm excited to do this one today. I'm ready. Ready?
Yes.
Hi. Hi, everyone. I'm Tim Von Rieden here with Deandra Pop, and we are for conceptcookie.com, and we are doing our weekly live stream. If you come to these often, you'll notice that we have a change of scenery, and that's because we recently moved into a house in Wisconsin, so things are a bit chaotic, as you can see right now. My office space is pretty exciting, so hopefully that'll start changing in the next couple of weeks. But today we're going to go through an old piece that I found recently because I watched Treasure Planet not too long ago, and I really wanted to kind of show you guys how I would treat looking at an older piece that you've done and how you're able to kind of distinguish what you can improve on now that you're older and hopefully more experienced. So this is kind of an exciting one for me. So I'm going to go ahead. Oh, and then at the end of this live stream, I'm going to go and talk a little bit about the workshop if any of you are interested in some of the things we have planned. And yeah, if you have any questions that maybe not even relate to what I'm working on today, if they're just about concept art, finding a job, or even any question you may have, just feel free to ask it. And Deandra is here to kind of send them my way, or unless she can answer them herself, she will do so. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Okay, so if you guys are familiar, this is Jim Hawken from Treasure Planet, and it's originally from Treasure Island, obviously, but the piece that I did, it was just a fan art piece. I was really excited at the time, but now looking at it, I mean, this was about 5 years ago, or 4 or 5 years ago, but now that I look at it, I'm really able to see like all the things that I can improve on and change. And the first thing I noticed right away is my line quality is pretty shaky, and that's pretty evident. But at the time, I might have thought, you know, this wasn't too bad, or like this was pretty much the peak at what I was able to do. So it's really nice when you're able to look at something you've done and be like, okay, now let's try reworking it. Now today might be also a little weird because I'm working on my new tablet that I usually work on my laptop. I usually have my larger Cintiq out here, so it might be a little different for me today working on this, but I'm going to do my best to get comfortable quick with it. So let's see here. Ooh, yeah, that's definitely a smaller tablet size screen. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of darken things up and add some more shape and form. Because back in the day, this is what I would consider pillow shading, where there really is no sense of lighting, and it's just kind of shaded almost randomly to give an effect of, like, this shirt is separated from this cloth, or like the skin is separated by this this color. And the way that I worked it, it really didn't have much sense of depth or value. So the first thing that I instantly want to do, I'm going to go ahead and make a duplicate of the finish layer that I have here, change it to multiply. I'm going to turn the opacity down just a little bit, and right off the gate, I'm already having, I can see more values that I can start pushing up now. Because the first thing I definitely want to do is get rid of that line art. That line art is definitely what is kind of aging my piece right here. So I'm going to go ahead, maybe I'll start with the jacket. And obviously, since these live streams are only like an hour, I don't have that much time to kind of mess with this. So I'm going to maybe focus on like the upper area, because I think this is what probably you would be most interested in seeing completed. Oh, it's so weird working on this tablet. I may have to switch midway through to the other tablet. Alright, so the first thing that I'm going to see is, okay, where do I want the light to be coming from? So I think I'm going to have it come from like this general direction. And you know what, really quick, I'm going to fix my mapping on this. There we go. Much better. Okay. If you're ever working on two monitors, you may notice that your orientation or your mapping might be really off. So all you do is you go to System Preferences, and I know you can't see my screen, but I can pretty easily explain it, is you just go to your System Preferences, find your tablet menu, and then it has its own mapping section. So from there, all you do is you make sure that the screen area is only doing the proportions of your first monitor. Otherwise, you'll be doing both of your monitors, and that can be just really tricky. Yeah, this is much better. Okay. And not to say that what I've done is bad. Like I know some people might say, well, that's not, this isn't flawed work. It's just a different style or something along those lines. But you can still be able to, look at this with a discerning eye and be like, well, no, there's areas that I can improve on. And not so much that it's wrong, just that I feel like I can improve upon it. And you really want to be confident in being able to go over your line work. And I think this is something I'm asked a lot on how do you color over your line work, or how do I like more comfortable in working with lines, how do I add color? And for me, it's generally just working literally right on top of it and being confident with your line work or with your blending.
All right, one of our first questions, kind of, is he even looking at these questions? And the answer is kind of, because I'm looking at the questions, Tim is drawing, so.
Yeah, originally it was only me doing the live streams, and it got to a point where I was looking at the questions so often that I wasn't able to get much drawing done. So that's why we brought in Deandra to kind of help kind of guide the questions, kind of help out if she can as well.
It's really hard to draw and teach and read like paragraphs of questions at the same time. So that's what I'm here for, just to like help a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am at least looking at all the questions.
Yeah. So you can start asking them then.
Let's see. Okay, by Benedict Geierhofer? Question: what would you say are the greatest mistakes one can make when one wants to work time efficient? Any tips for being time efficient, or would you do a stream or tutorial on it?
What are the greatest mistakes one can make when one wants to work time efficiently?
Yeah, like what makes you slower?
Or I guess one, being too meticulous, and two, working with too small of a brush. Or even right now, I realize I was working pretty small when I was working on the face. I need to get some general blocking in of shapes and lighting in. So that's why I make your brush bigger. Be confident with your strokes. I think that's something that just maybe artists in general struggle with, but it really does, affect your piece if you can just be confident in the way that you're laying down your brush strokes. I guess, what was the last? Any tips for being time efficient? So that would be, I would say those would be my biggest things then, and not being so worried about if it's looking perfect, from the get-go, and letting it be, choppy from at the beginning, but then slowly knowing that, you will have to detail it later. Just be focused on blocking it out first. I'll zoom in so you guys can see this easier. There we go. Oh, and you can keep asking them now.
Okay. By Christy McAvey. So I signed up for the workshop, but I just wanted to know, how do I know I got into the workshop?
Okay, what's her name? I will definitely write it down, because you are in the workshop, and the actual workshop page, since we just created it literally last week, on September, I think it's 22nd or 21st, it will then open up, and then you will be in the workshop pretty much. But if you got an email saying that you signed up for the workshop, that's one way of telling. Or I can literally just check in the back end of the WordPress and see if you were confirmed. But if you were charged on your credit card or whatever, then you for sure made it in. But yeah, since this is the brand new workshop site, there might be some things like that we need to get fixed, like just even a little notification to the users that sign up that let them know they're in. That would be a good one. So even little tips or things like that, let me know so I can fix that for the future workshop.
All right. By Ben Sinclair. Can you give shoutouts to blogs or pages?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I guess what would be a blog or a thing that I've been watching recently? I don't know. I'll have to think about that one.
All right. All right. By Zemi FTW, do you have a DeviantArt, Deandra? The answer is yes, but it needs to be updated. So I'm gonna do some quick updates and then I can send it out for you guys if you want to check it out.
All right, really quick. So this is a good example of where I can see something that I needed to improve on. One, I should be constantly flipping my canvas. But the eye that's on the further side, so this one right here, the iris and the pupil should be more like on the inside of the eye, where right now it's kind of forced on the outside and it's making it look a bit wonky to me. So rather than like trying to fix it up like little by little and like just push and move areas, I like to do an area that my boss Wes always talks about is just literally just starting over. If something is looking wrong and you can tell it needs a lot of work, don't try to just fiddle with it and make it fit what you want. Really make it look awesome. Don't just settle for what you have just because dumping all the progress that you made thus far. All right, and then I'm just going to keep on blending. So pretty much I'm using all the techniques that I always talk about in all my tutorials and my live streams. And every now and then I'll chip in and kind of focus on a particular area, just like the eyes. But yeah, this one I think will be more question heavy because I always feel like our live streams we get left with a lot of questions unanswered. So this one we'll try to do as many as we can.
Okay. Let's see. By Lamont Robinson, will there be another workshop? Not able to do it this year because unfortunately I'll be in school.
Yes. So if this one works really well and I feel comfortable doing more in the future, then I plan on doing another one probably January-ish, and then probably will continue throughout the year. And it won't just be this one. This one is definitely like an essential one, I would say, but then the other one I really want to teach is talking about subject matters and how to be comfortable working in the 4 main subject matters, well, the ones that are kind of in my mind, the different genres, I should say. It's horror, cute, sci-fi, and fantasy. And I think a concept artist should be comfortable at least knowing kind of the ins and outs of each. And I think that would just make you a more well-rounded artist. So that's another workshop that I really wanted to kind of get going.
By D. Brown, where was the workshop page? I have notifications enabled and watch the site constantly. Are there any spots left at all?
Yes. So there are 20 spots left. I can, you know what I should do really quick? I'll just write it on the screen in the corner. So pretty much you go to, let me grab black. Do it on a new layer though. So it's CG. I was going to be really, I feel like this is a test of my handwriting skills on a tablet right now. Workshops.com. And pretty much as of right now, there's only one workshop available. since literally, like I was saying, this is a brand new site that Wes and I created last week. Mostly Wes. I give him a lot of credit for pumping that out. And yeah, you'll see it. So it's called I Can Draw Anything. It will start in about 3 weeks, I believe. Wait, 1, 2, yeah, in 3 weeks it'll start, and there are 20 spots left. And I will not take any more than 20 because I really want to be able to focus on each individual and give them the time I feel they deserve if they signed up for the workshop. Next.
Okay, hold on. I'm looking through them now.
All
Alright, by Benedict again. Just read how expensive the workshop is. Will there be a possibility of scholarships? Or what would happen if you don't get 20 people together, even though I don't believe that will happen?
So what me and Wes talked about, since this is the first one, that is a possibility. And if we don't get a full 25, well, then that's almost more lucky for the ones that signed up, because then I'll be able to give them more individual attention. But I could see a possibility of in the future, I don't know about, well, we could do a scholarship type thing. I think though, since workshops are so new for Concept Cookie, we're gonna have to take some time just developing them and making sure like this is the right path for Concept Cookie, and this is really beneficial for people that sign up. So I don't want to jump the gun and say like, yeah, workshops are gonna be amazing, blah blah blah. Like I want to make sure that I really genuinely feel they are helping people and giving people what they're paying for.
All right. By Nyx. Now the summer extravaganza is over. What's next for Concept Cookie in terms of tutorials? Will there ever be an extravaganza like this again, either on Concept Cookie or on the other cookie sites?
Yes, so we're hopefully planning every summer we'll do something similar to that. But also, I mean, it went so well that we want to do it again. I think, though, we just need to take a little break since I won't be able to spend as much time focusing on publishing all the marketing and writing the tutorial posts and everything, because that did take a lot of my Tuesday and Thursday time. So I think while I'm focusing on the workshop stuff, we're going to still have tutorials on the site. So don't worry if like you're a citizen member, we're still going to be releasing tutorials. And another extravaganza is definitely planned, but I'll have to kind of keep you guys filled in on when we're planning to release that one, or at least start it up, I should say.
All right. Okay, by Emma. Do you think you'll ever make a live stream where the viewers can send you their artwork and you'll give them tips and critique?
Yep. I'm actually thinking either next week or the week after, since I'm going to be doing that a lot with the live stream. I feel like it would be a good test for me to kind of try one in a live stream and let this kind of be the guinea pig.
All right.
Oof, you gotta be a little careful when you erase eyebrows. They can look a little funky. One second. Let me help Deandra out really quick.
Okay, you're fine.
Oh, we're good?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see. Next, by Lily Rivera. Will there be a schedule from you in the workshop, or will it be based in the time the student needs?
Yeah, so it's based on a 5 week system. So pretty much it'll be pretty dedicated to those 5 weeks, and I'm going to be spending most of my time with the workshop. So I'm probably going to be passing a lot of concept cookie stuff to the other workers at CG Cookie. And I think it's from September 21st to like mid October or late October. I will be every week be having like a new weekly topic that I will spend really heavily focused on, and I'll give homework assignments and I'll give you one-on-one critiques on what I think you're doing right and what I think you could be doing better and where I think your strengths may lie and what you should be working on from there. So I really do want it to be a very intensive built workshop where the student really feels like they're getting the time and attention from me that they're paying for. Now, really quick, so this is one thing I definitely wanted to do. The old fan piece definitely made it look a little more anime generic boy, but I really want to pay attention to Jim's features. And if you don't know what Treasure Planet is, I recommend watching it. I believe it's one of Disney's best movies they've ever made, and I think the way that they drew him is really interesting as well. It's definitely this kind of low cast, squared off eyebrows, these very rounded off eyes, but then his eyeballs themselves have like this rounded square look to them. So you definitely got to be very careful to observe your original piece or the original workings if you're doing a fan piece like this. And if you want to stay kind of true to some of the aspects and characteristics that they gave him, you really have to observe and be conscious of that.
Ryan Sainsbury asks, what table are you using? A tablet are you using at the moment?
Right now, let me turn it over because I just got it like a month ago. This is called an Intuos Pro pen tablet, and it's small. And pretty much the big thing about this one, I guess, is that it's a touch screen as well. So like if I wanted to, let's see if this works. Oops. So yeah, if I use my two fingers, I can use it like a tablet and zoom in and out really fast without having even the need for my left hand to do it. But really, I don't think it's that necessary. I find myself still using my left hand for stuff like that more. Maybe I'm just not comfortable with it yet, but it's a pretty good tablet from what I've used so far. And it's wireless. That's the other big thing I think they're trying to market for this one. So there's no cord from my tablet. And from what I've seen and what I've worked with, I haven't experienced a problem where I felt like my brush jumped or it wasn't, being accurate where I'm placing my brush down. So I do give it credit for being the first wireless tablet that I've used that seems to work really well.
Christy asks, about the workshop again, is it time flexible? I think you kind of answered that already.
Yeah, and I guess I know I've gotten questions about the time zones. So what I'm probably end up going to do is I'm going to do two, because there's going to be a live stream every week. I'll probably end up doing two live streams in one day. One will be in the morning and one will be in the evening. And then they'll cover the same topics, and there won't be like something new that you might miss if you missed one of them or you're only able to catch one of them. The whole point is so that I can get both time zones and have at least one be somewhat in a comfortable time frame for you. So if like one of them starts at 3 a.m., you probably won't want to catch that one. But if the next one starts at like 11 a.m., that one might be more of an option for you.
By Ben Sinclair, when studying fundamentals such as lighting, perspective, anatomy, etc., how much time do you think you would need to spend studying each one?
To be honest, I don't feel like there's ever a set limit you can put on that. Like even today, I feel like I'm still learning things. Like even with this piece, if I eventually did like finish this whole one up and make it look really nice so I can sell it at conventions, I've never worked with like a gold pattern reflection like this that is really, I would have to kind of practice with how it would fall upon his face, and I'd probably have to look at reference. So I think it comes with each piece. You should try to learn something new. And I think that's what should be your goal. So it shouldn't be like something that is like I need to spend at least an hour a day on lighting or color. I think it comes up in certain pieces, and then you have to flex in a flex it to what you're working on, kind of a deal.
By Emma again. Another question. Could you maybe please do a live stream on backgrounds? Or maybe you have some tips or tricks for a foliage/forest background?
Backgrounds are definitely not in my realm of comfort. I would say there are plenty of other tutorials on Cookie that would better explain it than I could, but I could eventually bring someone on the live streams that are comfortable doing environments, and I think they would be able to give you better advice, because as much as I would want to do one about backgrounds and environments, I feel like my knowledge of it is still so basic that I can give you my tips on how I would go about it as a concept or as a character artist, but I think it would be better if you heard it from someone that would consider themselves an environment artist.
You did do a previous live stream on foliage, though. So
Yeah,
maybe
so that
that.
was definitely like how I would treat it as a character artist. Like I would, well, that was also about pulling photos in, but yeah, like there are things you can teach yourself. So don't feel like you have to brand yourself as like a character artist. I mean, it's usually best if you kind of focus more on one area over another, but that doesn't mean that like if you really wanted to do an environment, don't feel like you can't just because your best work is more in characters.
By S. Carrillo, or Carrillo, I'm not sure. How important is it to be a gamer in the game design field? I would love to be in the industry, but I find I have no time to play them. I tend to spend all my time drawing, but I'm very inspired by game art. Do you feel it hurts your chances of getting work?
Yes. I would say even now, like I'll play games with my friends, but if I'm by myself, I really won't play video games anymore. And it was funny because I got into game art for the same reason you do. It's just, there might have been a couple games that really, influenced you heavily. Like for me, it was Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy X, and that's what I wanted to do. I kind of knew I wanted to make games like this, and I wanted to affect people as much as those affected me. But I think now that I'm older and now that I'm actually having a full-time job and, there's different responsibilities that come your way, I do think your time does become more limited and you have to be more selective with how you end up using it. So I will say, I mean, you can still play video games. Like I do know a lot of my friends that still play video games, and they have full-time jobs and they're doing fine. It's just you always want to be working on your skill level as well and being conscious that you're not spending too much time playing video games. Like there'll be some days where I feel like, man, I shouldn't have played that much League of Legends today, and it kind of bums you out a little bit. But I think if you're conscious of it and you're aware of how much you're playing, I still think you can be able to play video games and work in the industry.
I think what he meant, or she meant, is before even getting a job. Like, in order to get a job, do you have to be a gamer?
Oh, yeah, I think it's good to know like what trends are happening in the industry, like being able to see, what art trends in video games. Yeah, I definitely think it helps being a gamer before you get into the game industry. I'm sorry, I thought it was more about actually like spending time playing games. Okay.
All right. Benedict asks, would you ever have a stream where you look at the Studio Ghibli films, Spirited Away, etc.? I watched My Neighbor Totoro this week, and I saw pretty interesting artwork in that film. It's definitely worth a look.
Oh man, I've seen every Studio Ghibli film except for I think one, and I love Studio Ghibli. Actually, 2 days ago when I read the news that Studio Ghibli might be closing, it was really sad for me. So I'm hoping that they can stay open even with Hayao Miyazaki leaving. But I think the movies in general, I think they're amazing, and I just put on my DeviantArt that I'm doing a new fan piece for, I think it's MightyCon that I'm doing later this month, and right now it's overwhelming that they want me to do a Spirited Away piece. So I think that might be my next fan piece. And I could do it during a live stream. I guess I may start it during a live stream. That might be a good idea. So yeah, that could definitely be a possibility.
By S. Carrillo, is line art looked down upon in the concept community? If so, why? I've come across a few artists that say yes, but haven't said why. Thank you.
I wouldn't say. I would say no. I think uh, for me personally, I like doing stuff that doesn't have line art, but I think it's very much personal preference. Like if you look at a lot of Disney artists, like there's still a lot, or even DreamWorks. DreamWorks still has a lot of artists that work primarily in like scribbles almost of line art, and it's really well done and it's awesome. So don't think that like if you primarily like to do line art that's a hindrance to you. I think it's good to know both, and I admittedly can say yeah, I wish I had more skills with my line art, but oops, accidentally merged all that together. But yeah, just feel comfortable knowing that yeah, you can still do or still get a job if you're primarily interested in doing line work.
Alright, next question. How is the ratio divide your time between practicing, studying, and doing portfolio pieces or work? How did that ratio change over time?
I feel like I kind of cheated where while I was in school, I never really wanted to do studies. So if I was doing my assignments or homework, yeah, then I would, spend time doing like the ball studies or the sphere or whatever it may be, lighting practice. But if I was in my own time, I would never like dedicate time just to like practice color or practice form or value. I would always want to do, my own work, my original character stuff or things like fan art like this. This is a perfect example of something I did while I was in school and oops. And I wasn't really looking to like focus on anything. It was just something fun. But the one thing will say that you can do is you can just keep doing it. I think the worst thing you can do is not draw. So as long as you're drawing, I don't think it actually matters so much what you're actually doing. As long as you're conscious of maybe there's like a specific part of it that you're trying to work on. Like if this was my example 4 years ago, like, oh man, how should I push the gold reflection on the clothes? And you can kind of see down here, I mean, that was my initial thought on how to do it, and I left it that way. But now that I'm older and I have more experience behind me, I'll be able to look at this and know how to treat it differently and have it on the arms and the back of the jacket. So my biggest advice is don't feel like you have to separate dedicated time to specific regions. I know that some artists will tell you differently. This is just my opinion on the matter, and I would just say just keep drawing. That's the best thing that you can do as an artist to get better.
By Lauren Mastro. If you do decide to do a live stream where you critique our work, what would be the best way to get our pieces to you? For time reasons, would it be helpful to get them to you ahead of time so you can pick specific works to critique that day?
I would probably push out a post on like a Monday on the actual conceptcookie.com, and then I'll ask for people to send in their work, and then I will probably pick one or two that have areas I really feel like I could give some good feedback on. So yeah, I definitely, stay tuned in the next couple of Mondays because it will probably happen either next Monday or the Monday after, and yeah, I'll be able to do your piece during a live stream or work on top of it, I should say.
By Levi Santos Rocha. What is the better way to learn gesture drawing? What would you recommend?
Best way to learn gesture drawing?
Yeah.
I would say a life drawing class. Like even though I would say life drawing is most beneficial for like proportions and understanding anatomy, I do feel like you also get an understanding of how to do gesture drawing, especially when you have 30-second or 1-minute time limits, and your teacher is like, okay, like you only have 30 seconds to do the entire figure, go. And then you kind of learn to work faster. So I think it's one of those things where you just, like I was saying before, you just do. And I think through that process of just doing, you kind of you teach it to yourself in a way. But I guess if you wanted just a quick what I would do, and I almost say this every live stream, start with the shoulders, do a backbone, and then a hip bone, and that right there will just give you the proportions you need to kind of build up your entire body. And once you get comfortable enough, you don't even really need to do gestures as much, and it can be really quick. Like even this is pretty slow for what I probably should be at the speed of. But if I was doing a 30-minute or a 30-second gesture, not a 30-minute, like can definitely punch them out now. Where while I was in school, it was definitely more intimidating. But once you become more comfortable with speed and being like, yeah, I can do it in 30 seconds, that's when you start to develop those skills of like an industry artist, where you're more confident in your work. Man, those highlights on the eyes really pop out the entire character.
Yeah. By Stephen McFarlane. Do you listen to any music while drawing? And if so, what type, or does it depend on the character/subject matter?
Oh, I'm so glad they added that second part. Yeah, it totally depends on what I'm working on, and usually I let that, at least I pretend like it influences my work. I would say if I just had to pick one out of the blue, it'd probably be Lana Del Rey. That's probably my go-to. But I definitely like indie music, trance music, anything that can put me in a state of mind where it's just kind of floating, where I don't really have to listen to the lyrics, or the beat is very much patternistic, where I don't have to, like I can just literally, all the music just kind of blends into one pattern. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but then it's easier for me to just work and not be conscious of the music. It's just kind of there. It's just like when you're drawing when it's raining outside. Sometimes that background noise is all you need to get you going. I guess a good example, like right now, I probably would be listening to something from Treasure Planet if I was working on this.
By Lamont Robinson. Would you accept critiquing 3D art the same way you would a 2D piece, or is it strictly for 2D paintings only?
I would restrict it to 2D only because I don't think my eye is trained enough to do a 3D critique. Where I can give you personal comments on like if I think something looks off, and I can definitely give my best opinion on the matter. But I would say if you would want like a really valid opinion on like even how to fix it, I would definitely have a 3D artist give you a valid critique. Or if it was in Photoshop, I definitely feel like I could give you a better sense of a critique than if it was in 3D. Oh, it looks a little funny from this way. Let me liquefy that really quick.
Isn't that the worst?
There we go. Yeah. So if you guys don't know what liquefy is, it's a quick filter that you can do in Photoshop, and it allows you to push and pull things really easily. It definitely becomes one of my downfalls where I feel like I sometimes rely on it too much. So even though it's this great tool and feature, definitely be aware that you don't want to overuse it, or else you might find yourself being too comfortable with using that rather than actually getting it right and getting your anatomy and everything looking awesome just from your own level of skill.
Okay, next question. By Ben Sinclair. When and how did you find your own style or drawing? I know you start to develop a style once you study the fundamentals and stuff, but was there a particular way you developed a style?
You know, yes, I would say it definitely is influenced by you as a person and what attracts you in your visual eye. Like even earlier this year, I've kind of come into an understanding of like what I do want my style to be and what kind of interests me, where I've kind of come to notice I don't like the look of plastic. I like the look of things that are handmade or made of wood or metal. So things like suitcases, and I guess Norman Rockwell was a huge influence on me, where I really looked and examined his pieces, and I really love all the work that would come out of the 50s, whether it be cabinets or couches or stools. I love all the metal guards that would be on the corners of stuff. I love the toys that were made out of wood. And I think that, I know that sounds kind of strange, but then that influences what I like to draw, and then that's where a personal style starts to develop. Because then you'll start to notice none of my pieces will have like curved edges or something that looks artificial. It'll look very natural or organic. And I think that those little things just from life and things that interest you, those get all combined into like this one giant pot that is your style. And that's when you're happy with it. Because I know so many artists worried about like, oh, well, should I go more of like a line art route or should I go more the shading route? And I think that stuff will just come with practice, and you'll kind of find out, oh, I like this more than I like this, or I like the way that I do this more than the way I like that. So I think the best thing you can do is really make sure you let your own personal touch influence your style.
I would even compare it to something like Frankenstein, where like every style is just a Frankenstein of other styles, and hopefully, like in that way, you'll make something unique. Just the combination is like unique, but
Agreed.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a great question.
By Lauren Westwood. Love these videos, they really help a lot. Just wondering, what other brushes would you recommend other than the chalk brush in the Photoshop default list? Like ones for hair, I have no clue, or even just ones that have painter leaf textures that look good?
I know it's always funny because during my live streams or tutorials, I always try to use this brush, which is the chalk brush, which is a basic brush, or the circle hard edge brush, which is just this. And I really want to emphasize that you can create anything with just those two brushes. You don't need these special brushes. They often make things more efficient if you're in a time crunch. So like let's say, I guess this is a really good example where in the package that you can download on Concept Cookie, I have a hair braid brush. Let me go ahead and choose a blue. So this would be a good example of if I wanted to create a braid really fast. Oh, it looks really weird on a dark background. But like this would be a quick and easy way to create a braid without having to individually draw out each section of the strands. And I think it's good to have these, every now and then for being more time efficient, especially if you're in the industry and you do have like, you have two things you have to get done by the end of the day. Then I'm more accepting of brushes being used that are more special, but really try to learn everything just with the basic brushes, because then that'll allow you to gain this knowledge of how to do it, with just the basics, so that when you're given these special brushes, it becomes so much easier for you because you have that developed understanding of how to use or how to do it without the special brush. But in terms of like hair, there are some basic looking brushes, so like even this one. If you want something more strandy, that'll give you an effect. So it's just a bunch of dots, but then when you pull it around, it gives the streaky look. What's this one? Oh, and then this one's a heavy brush, and a fuzzy, curly brush. So yeah, there are times where I do think a special brush comes in handy, but don't feel like you need them or you have to rely on them.
By Maz0. While doing fan art, I tend to feel that I'm doing something bad. Like, even if I make it look different, I just feel like I'm just copying. It's the same when I try to get inspired by other artists. It feels like I can't get my own ideas. Any thoughts on it?
You want to answer this one?
Sure.
I feel like we get this one a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing. It's just something about like it's building the library, your library of ideas. Just being exposed to like different media, I guess, and like copying or doing fan art is completely fine. I think as long like getting inspired by other artists is definitely okay. You just have to be careful that you're not trying to like steal their identity from them. But if you ever want to do like a study, or if you want to like take one of their techniques and apply it to like your own painting, like all of that is fine. That's how we learn. That's why even like in art school, they always tell you to, you know, copy the masters, and then what you take away from copying is what is important. To just like apply the technique to your own style. Um, so yeah, I would say don't feel bad. um, yeah. So.
And then definitely like what Deanna was saying is take what you learn. So even like this piece, like I really like this combination of orange and cool colors going down here. Now this isn't in any way influenced from the original artwork that Disney made. It's just something that's kind of come across here that I've kind of liked and I'm working with. So sometimes even though the subject matter might not be your own, you can make it your own by the techniques that you use to paint it, you know.
Mm-hmm. By Juliana W. Hi Tim, did you get your continuity sometime under control? Is there a way to practice it?
My continuity?
Yeah, I think what that means is just like consistency in your drawings.
Oh, yeah, that's something I definitely try to strive for. I think as most artists do, we have that like obsessive compulsive nature where we want all of our pieces to look like we did it, to have that, you know, that mark that, you know, we specifically made this piece. I would say it's still something I struggle with, and I think it's something that all artists, I don't want to say always will struggle with, but I think it's definitely something in the back of their mind where I still don't feel like I've gotten it completely under control. There's definitely some techniques that I noticed myself doing sometimes subconsciously, and I think that's what eventually will give my pieces that look that I did it. And I think those are just developed over time and muscle memory and all that just is built into it. So I can't really tell you, yes, I feel like I'm confident in in saying that I have my continuity under control, but I'm not there yet.
By J.M. Humblebrummel. How would you deal with a job as an artist that you don't like, but you have to do it so you can get your place in a college that requires work experience?
That you don't. Oh, you know what? This is a good example. While I was in school, I got an internship at this place called Golden Helicopter, and they had me do these iOS games where they needed me to do things that I've never even done before, and it wasn't very fun. It was a lot of tiling work. It was a lot of learning how to animate in Photoshop. So a lot of stuff that I wasn't even comfortable with. It wasn't very fun for me. And I think learning how to manage that stress of like not wanting to do it but having to do it anyways, that will make you such a stronger not only artist, but that'll just make you a stronger work person in general and like being able to get things done that you don't want to. And it's having that push that pushes you to get it done. I think a lot of artists, and I think specifically for artists, we get in a point where we just don't want to do it, and then we kind of either give up or then we push it to the side or on the back burner to do it later. But if you can develop that skill now, like if you're literally in a job right now where what you're saying is you don't enjoy it, if you can push through it now, I promise you it'll get better in the long run because then eventually you will have a job that you love and enjoy because you were able to get through times like this that you didn't enjoy as much.
By Mark Bernal. I've been drawing for a long time now, and I've seemed to hit this point where it's harder to improve on my artwork. You may not know the answer, but does having a private mentor help?
Having a private mentor?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. Like I even still want to go. one of my biggest influences right now for pencil drawing is Alan Williams, and he's an artist that I've met a couple times now, and I really love his work and I love his style. And he has these workshops where I really wanted to go to one in October, but I'm not able to. And it pretty much he's your mentor for the weekend, and I would love that experience of just having a mentor really look at my work, be able to critique it, and I would know that he would have this understanding and this knowledge to be able to critique it accurately. So yeah, I do think it's better to have a private mentor. But if you're not able to have one, like a lot of us, most of us don't have that. Like while I was in school learning myself, I didn't have a private mentor. Your private mentor is yourself. And at the end of the day, the only person you can 100% rely on is yourself. So never feel like you need someone else to help you. You can always do it on your own.
Also by Lamont Robinson, do you know of any art scholarships for college?
No. I know at the Art Institute we had a few, but I did not enter in them, so I'm not really that knowledgeable in art scholarships.
By Savage Shoe, do you think that creating a pose using a character in a 3D animation software, copying and pasting it, and then building up a 2D artwork on top of that is cheating?
No. I see that as another resource being utilized by the artist. Because, I mean, they're still putting the time and effort to model it. So in my mind, they're not cheating at all.
Yeah. Actually, there's quite a few tutorials out there, I think, that cover how to do that.
Hmm.
Um,
Especially with environments. You see a lot of environment artists do that all the time.
yeah. Alright. By 10 White Wolf 10. Hi, I'm currently trying to build up books of some of the big names in concept art and would like to know who you think are some of the great concept artists out there and which books you might recommend.
Oh man, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
Ones that actually have their own books, though, that definitely narrows it quite a bit. Even though there's a lot of artists I respect and revere that are out there, they don't have their own personal books yet. So the ones that I have that I really, really enjoy are usually the smaller ones that I get at conventions when I go. So usually I like to meet the artist and then I'll buy their book, and I think there's a lot of content that you can get just in those little 30-page ones that they sell that are only like $10. So the one from Alan Williams I really admire, and I check that one a lot. Trying to think of if there's big books that I really enjoy. I would say Norman Rockwell, but I don't know if that would be for everyone. That's definitely more specific. Darken, his name is Mike Kim. He definitely has a style that a lot of people like. I like his style to an extent as well. And man, that's a tough one. I would definitely say the Alan Williams little sketchbook that I have is the one that I look at the most with the most pride, I guess.
What about Roger Fifth's book?
Oh, that's right. Oh, and a lot of the times you won't even be able to find their books like on Amazon or something. Sometimes you have to message them personally on like DeviantArt or something, and then they'll send it to you. Like Rajner the Fifth is an artist that lives in China, and I mean, I've always loved her. Ever since I first saw her, a piece from her, I've been following her ever since. And she has this like, I think it's what, like 12 pages or something. It's not very big at all. It's a very little art book, but it's wonderful. She'll send it to you from China, and I think it was like 20 bucks even with shipping. So you'll find that sometimes if you do a little more research on your artist that you really admire, you might actually find out they have their own little personal book that you can go ahead and purchase.
By Kupo Ku. Is there any other workshop or courses you would recommend? This is maybe a question for Deandra. I signed up for the Concept Cookie workshop and I'm looking forward to it.
Talk about CGMA one.
Yeah, actually, I'm currently enrolled in a fall course for CGMA. It covers color and light. But overall, most of their courses get really good reviews. So I'd recommend checking that out. Other than that, there's a few smaller ones. There's class. I know a bunch of artists are doing Gumroads, so it's a good website to check out, and you pay for the individual tutorials. And yes, I think CGMA is a big one. And there's a few others, but I can't remember the names.
I think specifically color and light would be a great one.
Oh, Imaginism, I think, has a few. But yeah. By Emma, as an aspiring concept/comic artist, do you think I should just go to an art school that specializes in concept art and illustration, or a classical art school? Because I do like classical paintings and it does influence my art, I just don't have much experience in it.
I guess my question to you is why you would feel the need to go to school in the first place. I think, especially now in the modern age, like everything that you would want to learn, you can learn online. And most employers, even to this, like especially now, they might not even look if you have a college degree. A lot of times the work will just speak for itself. So if you create quality work, you don't need to go to an art school. And I think that was a lot of the reasoning why a lot of my generation went to an art school is because our parents were so worried about just having that physical, paper degree. But you really don't need it in our field and in our industry. So only go to school if it really is feasible for you and you really want that college experience. But otherwise, I would say look toward to online resources, and everything that you would want to learn you can find online.
Can we see a before and after of the progress?
Oh, sorry, I should have been doing that more. Yeah, hold on. Alright, so this was before. This was after. The face is really bothering me right now. That's why I think that's why I've been so weird with my answers, I think, recently. Whereas face, like right now I'm in Liquify trying to push it to a place I like. But overall, the color quality and what I can see the progress happening with it, I like. I like the colors that are being used. And I know I'll be able to make it look nice if I keep tweaking it. So there's a close-up before and after. So you can definitely see where I'm at the point in my career where I'm very comfortable coloring over line work, where I think back in this stage of my life when I was working on this originally, it was really hard for me to feel comfortable at all coloring over line work, and I always feel like I would lose my shape and my value, and it was one of those weird things when you learn you don't need line art to create your pieces. I mean, that's not to say that you have to get rid of it. Like if you really like line art, that's awesome. Like, strive to create even better line art, but just no, that's not necessary for your pieces. And we are hitting like the hour point. I think I'm going to go for like an extra 20 minutes today, just because I want this piece looking a little nicer than it is right now. So even like adding this blue underneath on the jacket, like understanding that, okay, the sky color that I have out here is this blue, so then pulling some of that in here is definitely more of like an illustrative technique where it's less realism, where this blue might not be as heavy that's being reflected into the jacket. But sometimes when I'm doing a piece like this where I'm not focusing on like realism lighting, I can focus more on like what looks attractive as a piece, as an illustration, what directs your eye to certain areas. That's when I can get, having a little more fun laying out my colors.
By Paint Eater, for coloring over line work, what's the trick? Do you just pull the colors from each side together and merge them into a crisp edge with high opacity/flow?
Let me see. So like in this example, so where the jacket ends, I'm literally just pulling this blue and then edging it out against the whatever this is, the Solar Rider wing in the background. And then like for the shirt, I'll pull up a color that I think looks about right for what I want, and I'll literally just cover it. And then usually, I mean, before I would probably get more particular with how I'm laying it out, but I think I've just learned, that you really shouldn't over focus on things, and that's why I try to stay zoomed out as much as I can as well. And when you're laying over line art, just feel confident that you're not going to screw it up. Because if you're on a new layer, you literally can take it off if it doesn't look right. So don't feel like you're going to ruin it completely. Just know that you have that undo button, and that's what makes digital art so unique.
I think for coloring over line work, it's really just about putting two planes like up against each other and using that as your contrast instead of the line.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Alright, next question by D. Brown. I've recently picked up a job doing the modeling, animation, and textures for a game, but some minor concepts as well. But I'm still weak on my character concepts. Until I strengthen my characters, where can my boss find us or me, a character concept artist?
I was gonna say, like, there's so many online resources, and I'm sure there's so many artists that would jump at the job opportunity, especially if it was a paid job. Uh, I would put it out on like DeviantArt, like on any art website that's very heavy with like all skill level of artists. I would say CG Hub would have been my #1 recommendation because I did do a few posts on there before, and I definitely got a lot of feedback and a lot of talented artists that were willing to do the job. But now that it's no longer with us, I would definitely recommend doing some research on like what is the best site nowadays for posting it off. But I would say DeviantArt would still give you a relatively good feedback of artists that will do the work. Unless if you know any D.
No, basically what you said.
Okay.
Just putting the word out there on concept art sites that there's a job open. Actually, I think there's a website that's called Concept Art Jobs or something.
Oh, that's right. What am I thinking? Yeah.
Alright, we're at an hour and 15.
Okay, so I guess ask any questions you may have right now, and then I will kind of finish up with what I have, even though I easily would want to spend another hour cleaning up the face and making it look nice, but I won't jabber forever, so I do want to mention some things about the workshop as well. So if you have any last minute questions, ask them now before we end this off, and we will try our best to get to all of them before it cuts off.
Alright. By Benedict Geierhofer. I once heard about how a good piece of artwork draws the eyes always to the focus point. How can you direct the human eye on certain points? How good are you at it, and how can you create that effect?
Oh, there's so many little tricks and tips you can do for that. So either through contrast or focus or saturation, you can definitely pull the eye toward different areas. Like right now when we look at this piece, our eye's being kind of pulled to this direction. And you also have to be very self-aware of how you're laying out your pieces and making sure that uh, you're trying to pull it in different areas that you want to be seen most. So like in this case, I usually like to pull a lot of the attention to the faces, but since right now I'm not really digging how the face is looking, I'm definitely pulling more color down here so that the eye may start near the face. And usually our eyes have a tendency to be drawn toward faces, and that's why I usually try to put more focus on the face. And then usually the eye will wander from there. So like from here, the general path is down and through this jacket to the blue, and then it just kind of stops. So I'm not really creating that much of a flow right now. But what I will do, the more that I develop this, is I'll try to make it so that the eye is constantly like in a fluid motion. So I'll probably make this leg look pretty nice and then have the boot stand out as well. So that way you're having that nice curve to it. So usually what you'll be taught, especially if you go to art school, is you want like an S flow in your piece. So with this, it's a little easier because the character itself has such an exaggerated motion or pose to him. Not exaggerated in proportions, just very much not in just like a T pose. He's exaggerated in not just standing still. So then that look of motion is already captured right there in it. So then the work for us is already kind of done. Now I just got to color it appropriately so that I'm not like distracting the attention from that line.
By Paint Theater. Will you ever release a foundations course or download for purchase?
Foundations course.
So like you're getting started series?
Oh, well, I mean, it is completely free, and I'm pretty sure you can download all the videos. So there's no need to purchase those. And even if you're just on YouTube, I believe they're all on YouTube as well.
By Robert Blake. Should beginners sign up for the workshop because I really want to?
Yes, like the perfect level of skill is someone that is comfortable enough with Photoshop that they know how to use like the brushes, but they're not as comfortable with like how to blend well enough. And I think that's like the perfect level of skill that would be for this workshop. And for those just trying to better how their process goes about creating work. So I think sometimes even artists that are pretty good, they might not have a very developed visual eye. So what this workshop will also try to kind of attack is how to look at things and how to really observe and analyze the world around us and how that can be implemented into your work. So even things such as like how to use contrast to direct someone's eye in your piece. Sometimes someone might not be thinking as consciously on that specifically. So I think really dedicating a focused look at it will help develop any artist. So like even an advanced artist could take the class and hopefully walk away with something that they feel like they did not know beforehand in the workshop. So yeah, I definitely think beginners would be the best for this workshop. Anywhere between beginner and intermediate would be the best.
Alright, by Shauna Bass. I have real issues with knowing when to leave things textured or showing brush strokes, and when to smoothly blend things. I always feel like when I leave areas looking painterly, they look messy. Any suggestions or advice?
Yeah, I think that's definitely something you might battle for a long time. I know a lot of artists go through that on like, because then you're talking about style as well. And like, do I like how this looks stylistically? If that's even a word. And I think that's something that you'll battle for a long time. And it won't be until you're more comfortable with like, I'm gonna make things look like this. I really like how this outcome turned out. I'm gonna make future pieces of mine look like this. So it's kind of tough. Like for me right now, I'm in a kind of a mood where I do like leaving some brush strokes. I like leaving things textured. But then I also get in these other, art moods where I'm like, I'm going to keep everything smooth and only use the circle hard edge brush. So the best thing that I would tell you is if you're feeling you want to do something specific, just do it. Just don't question yourself. Stop, delaying time, because if you're having that feeling to do it, just get it out of your system and do it. Because the worst thing that could happen is you want to revert to your old style, but at least you learn just through that process that you want to go back to leaving things textured.
By Renjith RR. Hi, I always start from a liner and do the painting on it, but when I try to flesh out a painting without any line, I fail. Can you please just give an advice on it?
Yeah, definitely try to work very heavily with shapes and shape language. And I think having very crisp edges will help, especially if you like start with a silhouette and then you work on top of that. I definitely find that it's sometimes a little harder if you maybe even just do like a quick simple doodle to start out with, and just that initial sketch will give you a foundation that you can lay out your colors on top of. Because I think too often when you don't use any line art, you get a little lost in like proportions. And speaking just from my experience, I think I've learned at least to have a simple sketch to kind of help guide me even just a little bit. So maybe that will help you as well. Just maybe try having just a simple gesture of a sketch underneath of your work to get it going.
Alright, so that sums up all the questions, and then we have one last comment by Sinclair. To add to the answer for Mez Zero on finding ideas, just try and find inspiration from anything, not just other artists. Go out and look at things that look awesome. Develop an idea from that, and get ideas from other things, such as your interests and passions.
Yeah, well said.
I would even add to that, I remember in high school, whenever I would draw creatures like in class, and I would just draw inspiration from like an item in the class. Like I would look like at an event or something and be like, I'm gonna incorporate that in my drawing somehow, and like that can help you get like an interesting shape. It could be anything. It doesn't even have to be art. You just walk around outside and be like, oh, that looks cool. So just keeping an eye open for things, and then just knowing what you like. If you look at somebody else's art and you're like, oh, I really like, for example, like this red, like red eyes or something, or red line under their eyes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can. I know that's something that I like, that I found in Fever Worm's art, for example. And, you can draw inspiration from a simple thing like that.
Mm-hmm.
And,
oh, sorry, keep going.
Yeah.
All right. So pretty much what I wanted to share really quick with the workshops is what you would do. And let me share my full screen here. Let's see here what we got going. Oh, there's me. Hold on. All right, so pretty much this is the workshop, and if this is something that you are curious about, it's just cgcookieworkshops.com. You just click on, so you find the I can draw anything. It's the only one available. You just click on it, it'll take you to a registration page, and pretty much, oh no, there's only 19 available, so it looks like someone just got it in the past hour. So yeah, if all 25 fill up, I won't take any more. So if this is something that does interest you, I would sign up earlier than later. And the description of the workshop is underneath. It gives you kind of a breakdown of what I want to cover with you guys each week. And it'll be very specific where, like, the third week is all about materials and surface texture. So I will be giving you a homework assignment that while you're doing it, you can post in progress pictures to me. I will give you feedback and what I think you can do better on for the remaining homework assignment. And it's not so much like a grading thing. I don't really think it's effective for me to be like, oh, you got a C on this, or you got an A, or you failed. I don't think that's really constructive in any way. I really want to be not so much like a teacher, but more of a mentor, like what we were talking, where I want to help you out. I don't want you to feel like you're being labeled as like a B student. So any level of skill, like I was saying earlier, can enter this workshop. I want you guys to feel comfortable in knowing that, and I will work with whatever skill level you're at. So I'm not going to like force advanced techniques down your throat if you don't even understand them and you're not comfortable applying them to your work. So definitely know I'll make it more catered to you and your level. So as always, thank you again for watching this live stream. I'm sorry for the delay earlier. Hopefully next week we'll start it right at 2. And I want to thank you guys for coming once again. We do these every Wednesday at 2 p.m. That's Central Time, and that's -5 GMT if you're outside of the States. And thank you again, Deandra.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.